Welcome everyone to another video, and today we're looking at what if civilization started over two human scenario. Now, if you're new to the series, the two human scenario means that there are two human species. There are the Neanderthals and the Sapiens. We humans are currently our Sapiens, with our world, in real life world, being much more different from this world. This world has complex politics, complex interactions, and it has complex relations, meaning that both Neanderthals and Sapiens have kind of a off and back relationship. But if you like the video, please hit that subscribe button. It will help out a lot. And without further ado, let's get into this video. With our succession crisis coming soon to a big stop, we see that in Mesoa, there's two sons of the current king, and the king pities his sons, although he has a strained relationship with his first son, who is to be the heir. With the heir being unwanting to become the heir to the Mesoan throne, we see that the Mesoan high nobility keep pressuring him to join the high nobility as a king of the nobility, and the lower nobility very much support his younger brother, who's about 6 years younger than him, and he's around 22. The guy we're talking about is 22, and his brother is around 16. With that being said, we do see that this guy, Genahid, he is going to first of all take control of the first army, as war has been declared by a foreign nation. We see that in and over here, one of these three nations declares war, and it's this one. This nation thinks that it can take over a few parts over here and take control of these areas, and it has also been raiding and terrorizing the Mesopotamian access to the sea. Although Qataric and Omanians have kept them in check, closing them off from any naval areas, they have only gathered an army and have sent it into the areas of here. Seeing the larger threat of this, the Mesopotamian king had already sent out his best troops, that being the best troops of the first army, who actually waited for the first army to arrive. With this, we do see that the first army does deploy, with the second army finally being pulled back, as the Senaids have signed an agreement to non-aggression, and Anatolia has sent volunteers to help the forces. With the second army being already en route to the defense of these areas, we quickly see that only a small bit of these forces from southern Persia will go into these areas, but they will do much and a lot of bad to the Mesopotamian people, terrorizing and even enslaving some of them, which angers not only the Mesopotamian people but the general and Genahid himself. With that being said, we do see a large pushback by the army, which manages to cut off a lot of supplies to the army of southern Persia, which has been cut up into that area. Although it has been pushed back in this area, the ships managed to quickly go over here and pull back the army. But as they did so, they were pushed back from the shores that were closest to the areas and were forced to pull back into more of their own territory. With that being said, and Mesoa has now proved that you can, yes, invade its territories, but you will need a stronger army than it already has to defeat them, and a better general, which the Persians do not have, as their egotistical minds do not do them much good. With that being said, we do see that the second army does arrive in the nick of time to aid the first army, and we quickly see that when the second army arrives, it goes down south to take over the coastal areas, and the first army continues on its march towards the capital of southern Persia. With that being said, we do see that northern Persia and Hormuzd shall do their best to aid Mesopotamia, taking over many parts of the of their enemy, seeing as they will do this out of spite and also out of hatred towards the southern Persians, who have only started to become more and more of a nuisance in their own territories and the surrounding areas. And we quickly see that northern Persia is still able to advance in the far east. However, in the middle and, well, that being this area is the middle and this being the western in front, they are stuck across those two areas, while in the east they are pushing quite far, and they have managed to meet up with all arriving Hormuzian troops, who have just pushed through the middle front and have come to the aid of Mesopotamia. And we quickly see that Mesopotamia has also taken over these territories, although it does not wish to harm the people over here. The people are nonetheless going to fear them and going to beg for their lives, which they are gratefully reminded that the Mesopotamians are not their own, who would gladly kill their own just for the simple crime of just stealing a few pieces of bread or a few crumbs. Quickly seeing this to be the greatest crime of the Persian times, we quickly see that a miracle battle will be fought for the Persian capital, where we see the first army outflanks the Persian army and crushes them in the back of this area, while the second army is still caught up in its own battle. It manages to limp ahead in a very large formation. With these two forces moving in, we quickly see that both sides manage to take over not only the capital's surroundings, but also its lands. We quickly see that over here, the second army reaches the town first, and when the first army arrives, both launch an offensive to take it, and we quickly see that the overwhelmed forces over here give up, as they cannot fight so many Persians not Persians, but Mesopotamians at once. With that being said, the Mesopotamian forces do take a bit more lands before they give the rest over to their allies, where we see that the northern Persia gains a generous amount of land from this conflict, where Hormuzd takes only a bit. With this area being taken over, we quickly see it will be divided amongst the two lands over here, with the southern Persian Empire being dissolved as a whole, and we quickly see that it will be kinda assimilated into the areas up north, with these areas kinda gaining very much a lot of territory. With that being said, Hormuzd does gain a lot of territory from this conflict, and they do manage to secure themselves an alliance. With that being said, we do see a small amount of these areas do get themselves puppeted by the Mesopotamians for the near future, but we do see that Mesopotamia was successful, as Chenahid was in command of the first army, who led the great army of the first army. Whoa! Did I just? Well, it was also high noon about this time that I would make another one. But we quickly see that over here, these forces over here quickly move into position, as we quickly see that the third army will also be made. But near Katarik, we do see some of these Persian forces that managed to escape in time managed to actually start a small rebellion against the nobility, who was not ready for it. But we quickly see that with the aid of the second army's arrival, we quickly see that the rebellion is quelched, and the people that were forced into it will be pardoned. Katarik will also do something very much, very important, that being a large expansion towards the south, where we see many regions come under their rule, although these regions have less of an impact for the Katarik lands. They do manage to make them a bit stronger and a bit more wealthier. As sandstone bricks start to become the main export of Katarik, they quickly start to even use the sands that they gain to build large castles and large mines. Mines that have grand entrances are considered great mines, with many of those areas becoming very wealthy, and many mines becoming very well, production wise very good. And we quickly see that, not to be outdone, Omonia quickly takes some territory, but without a second beat, we see that these two, that Qatarik and Essa Yemen, do take these areas. With Vesa Yemen, they do want to expand, but they are forced to expand only north, as they cannot go anywhere else, not even into other areas like the areas around the coast. They can't even make themselves a bit stronger, because if they were to make themselves stronger, they would have to take these areas. And we quickly see that this area over here kind of just joins them, as it sees no point in not joining them. And we quickly see that the Sudanese nation quickly does a lot, seeing as we do have a large amount of Sudanese people in these regions. We will see them expand quite greatly. With these expansions, we do see that explorations come naturally to these people, and eventually, with the Sudanese becoming a greater people and able to do a lot of exploration, they will start an exploration campaign across the Saharan deserts. Although the more they move forward, the more they lose, and we quickly see that they will stop their campaign to explore these areas once they reach these areas. We quickly see that Morocco does gain knowledge of more territories around the Sahara, but seeing as they are unable to use those areas for anything like metals, they are too far for them to even make a village in, they will stop, keeping this thing over here well in the areas of being safe. Libya will start to also send people to explore these areas to make a quicker route to Sudan, but they will see that the Saharan deserts aren't that good to them, and they are still not able to survive for long. With that being said, we quickly see that over here we see a large amount of expansion of the knowledge of the territories over here, and a great rivalry will be built in the Li Jingzi dynasty. And we quickly see that the Li Jingzis will be the main driver of the knowledge sector, as they will start to move into these directions. And also they, for the first time, they actually encounter these guys over here, where they have just pushed into these regions, taking them over. We quickly see, once the Tibetans also come in to help them, we see a large amount of regions start to be discovered. Although the more west the Tibetans go, the larger the areas that they have to explore, and the larger the mountains. And so they call this the Great Mountain Range of Arka. Arka means, in this Tibetan's language, it means the Great Mountain Range. The Great Mountain Range of the Great Mountain Range is its name, and we quickly see that once they are stopped by the large sands over here, a large amount of people will go and discover a lot of territory over here, with the aim being to discover lands that could help them reach over to the north. With this aim being successful, they will discover all of these territories and will take them over, seeing as it will be very crucial. With that being said, we do see Sri Lanka finally gets a bit of itself discovered, as we quickly see many regions get discovered up in the north. Although it's not enough to fully discover the whole island, it's enough to spark curiosity about what's in the unknown. And we quickly see, in a few years, these areas will start to be discovered, and it will become a quick and time-consuming endeavor to take these areas. With that being also very successful, we do see that any areas around here that they are controlled are now seen as a great area to control, as it kind of locks down the areas over here. With that being said, we do see that two nations do cover these areas, that being the nation up north and the nation down south, with the one down south making the first move, taking much more territory than it thought it could. But before it could take anything more, the nation of North moved down. We quickly see that these forces will start to clash, and eventually this nation will fall to its lesser status as a great nation. And we quickly see that this nation over here also takes over this nation in a war. With that being said, we quickly will go over to nation names, where we see that this is not the last time we'll see the nation names, as the Mumban Empire shall start its great expansion. Now you can already see that it has changed its size a bit, but not only will it do that, it will start to discover a lot of new territories, finding a lot of wood and a lot of elephants, with these elephants quickly being seen as luxury items and being sent all over the world. And we quickly see that in Africa, African elephants are starting to appear along the Nile, and we quickly see that the Nile starts to grow as water seasons in the southern African areas start to see much more growth. With that being said, we quickly see that in these areas that the Mumbans go, they start to see many of these Indian elephants quickly help them out, as they become quickly sufficient ways of travel, and very wealthy nobles start to arrive to try and see what it would be like to ride one. We quickly see that the tourism industry starts to actually appear in the world at this point, and with tourism actually becoming quite a great way to actually gain other money, the Mumbans will promote this by even building ships that are merchant ships, but they will advertise their nation's coffers and their nation's greatness by using these elephants. We quickly see that the Mumbans also go over here, making a few areas where they can actually go over to these areas and take these areas over. But we quickly see that due to their focus on expanding in one direction and then again in another one, they quickly just take over these territories over here, leaving many people kind of stunned at how fast they're growing. With seeing all of this, we see that this nation over here puts its efforts in discovering all of Sri Lanka, becoming the first nation to actually colonize it a bit. With the first nation of being this one, and to actually land on Sri Lanka and eventually just make some settlements there, it seems that they will take it over, although it quickly becomes expensive to hold these areas, and henceforth they shall give these areas independence, seeing as it's too invaluable to hold these areas, and they just give these areas up. With these areas having their independence, we see the appearance of the first Sri Lankan nation, with the many more to come into existence. We quickly see that with the first nation, the second nation down south will start to form, although the one down south is less enthusiastic about the northern one. With the northern one taking over the rest of the islands areas, we quickly see these two nations will start to fight each other, and eventually it will lead to a multi-year war that will eventually lead to one nation falling, and that is the southern one. But not to be outdone, the northern one also sees many of its regions start to fall over to different people, and I will give them color coding thing. Basically, these two colors will show who's from who, and the closer the color is to one another, that means how close they actually are and who they're from. At least for Sri Lanka, because they are very small. Whew, I've been talking a lot, and I've been talking pretty fast. Kinda weird for me. But we quickly see that in these regions over here, a large exploration party does manage to start to make some settlements over here. And eventually, once settlements are made, quick advances into these territories are done. And with these territories being discovered, we do see many of these regions start to see much more inhabitation than they did before. With these areas being inhabited, we quickly also see many of the people that are over here start to show them their true colors to the elephants over here, and they start to abuse their power as elephant tamers. Many elephant tamers quickly lose their privileges to tame elephants or take care of them, as it's quickly found out that this nation holds all elephants in great a great light, and they do not want the elephants to find humans as bad, but it's already too late, as many Indian elephants start to see themselves being either in a pack with other elephants that have been captured by these guys or have been well abused, and quickly these abused packs quickly see themselves turning into very large killing machines, as they start to attack anything that looks like a human or is a human. And we quickly see that many things are attacked, and throughout all the areas in the Red Nation and over here, elephant rampages are the #1 cause for many deaths. Around 20% of deaths caused by elephants are made by rampages, and the rest are different. The Qataris have finally decided to expand their puppet over here, and they have decided that their puppet, that being also their colony, will expand into these areas, taking them over and posing as a new nation that is stronger than anyone else, seeing as it is very much closely tied to the Omanians, who have a great amount of areas. In our Great War, we do see that many lands do start to fall over to a different nation, and we see that the Mumban Empire does declare war on its southern neighbor, seeking to take over some territories from it, and for the first time they start to use war elephants, with the tactic coming very useful in battle in large fields. We quickly see that the Mumban Empire quickly takes over a lot of the north and south southern eastern areas of this nation, and with that being done, it sees a lot of success. We also see that this nation over here, seeing as it still harbors some hate towards its father nation, will send its forces to take over these territories, deciding that it wants some territories for itself, although doing so will cause them a bit of pain. With that being done, I will also have to take whatever thing it is here, put it right there. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I have to do all of this because otherwise this thing, not even close in habitation. So yep. Oh, well then, the Sri Lankans do have a right over these areas, but we quickly see that the Sri Lankans, after taking these regions as by force, make a deal with the red guys to take over more territories, and once the cyan guy gives up on its fight over in the north, many territories that were not even of the red teams or not even supposed to be taken by the red team will be taken and annexed by forces that enter the areas. We quickly see many of these areas start to fight back, but the red team is strong enough to hold their forces in these areas, and they start to slowly assimilate the people. With that being said, the forces eventually, the northern Mumban forces, quickly overwhelm these guys over here, creating the first Indian Empire, and we quickly see that the Mumban Empire is great in its size, rivaling even Mesoa itself. With that being said, we finally see that the Mahdi's have started to see a large amounts of their nation start to fall apart, as many eastern Mahdi's start to form their own nations, with many of these areas designed to actually break away. The first nation that breaks away is over here in Kazakhstan, and as we can see, the Kazakhstani nation is quite strong, as it manages to fight its independence war quite well and takes over the areas in the south, taking over the more southern regions of the Mahdi Empire. We quickly see the Mahdi Empire, seeing its first defeat in the south by these people, will start to see that these Neanderthals over here, who are more different than their brothers up north, will see themselves assimilating some of these Sapien regions, which does not go well for them for a bit, but eventually it does work out once they start to see more nations pop out over here who are on the side of, well, these guys getting their independence. With that being said, we do see many people start to see many problems arise, And we quickly see that many people over here start to make their own empires, with sapien empires quickly starting to form. With these empires actually not being empires, I've just been lying to you for a bit, but yeah. We quickly see that these nations quickly start to fight, and the one that comes out top is the one who's a bit more older, as it managed to finally form itself up and take over these regions. It has managed to take over some of these territories that for itself have been quite needed, as it very much wants these territories. With that being made clear, we do see many of these regions quickly are taken over, and for Northern Persia, they finally gained their ability to move up into these areas, although we do see that their lands over here are blocked by the Azerbaijani people. We do see that they don't really care, and they still move up, slaughtering some Azerbaijani people, which does not go well. We quickly see, due to their slaughtering, a large Azerbaijani nation will form, as it will call themselves the what was it? Waju? I don't know what the capital was. I've kind of forgot it. But we quickly see that the Azerbaijani nation, Azarta, quickly becomes very relevant in these regions, and once this nation finally forms, we quickly see many other nations in this region start to form, and with the largest one being very important. With many of these people starting to band together, we see the first nation that forms over here is surprisingly the Chechens, who we haven't seen for a while, but they do form their own nation. With this nation form, we do see that it starts its first expansion into outer territories, quickly taking over some of these lands that are not theirs, but they still kind of claim it as they have more cultural appropriation. With that being done, we quickly see many other nations over here start to form, and with these nations forming, we quickly also see some of these areas quickly become very resistant towards anything that is, well, not them. And we quickly see that this Georgian, yeah, this is Georgia, Georgia, Georgian, not Georgian. Actually, it would sound so cool to say Georgian. We quickly see that these people quickly unite the Georgian people, or I can't speak Georgia. The Georgians. We quickly see that many of these areas quickly take their own independence very seriously, and we quickly also see that many nations begin to form, although the smaller ones get immediately taken over. We quickly also see that in these areas a large amount of Kurdish people quickly fight in the eastern parts of Crimea, taking over this whole nation and quickly assimilating into its own. With seeing the opportunity to attack, the northern nation over here tries to attack, but is cut off from an attack from the Kurdians, who quickly take over that area and try to push into these areas, trying to take over Sevastopol, which is an important village, as it's seen as a small town at this point. And with the smallest town of the nations finally being very much taken, we see that this last nation falls, and the nation of Crimea forms. With that being done, we quickly see that the Crimean nation and quickly takes over some lands over here to fully take over these areas and make their first capital, with a lot of their people moving out of one people's capital and moving in another. As we quickly see that Sevastopol will quickly come into existence, with not only becoming a town, but also becoming the first city of any nation over here. With that being said, this city quickly sees itself becoming a very important piece in any sort of politics, as we quickly see many of these people take control of the local lands, and with many of these towns losing their capital status, these towns start to kind of sulk and want independence to become capitals. But seeing as this northern nation has finally declared war and has now been pushed back a bit from these areas, seeking and these guys had also seeked a lot of stuff to do. We quickly see that these guys will see the power of their now occupier, of the Kurdians, who have just taken a lot of the people to war and have won with the people being united. We quickly see that the Crimeans quickly unite under this one nation. With that being said, we quickly see that this nation over here starts to fall when it tries to form a counteroffensive down south to take this village. When it fails, they fail at defending their town and they finally fall from grace. With Zaporizhia demanding some territories, it will be given these territories, even though they are not supposed to give any. That being the Crimeans, they are not supposed to give any territories. They still give them because they want to remain in good spirits with the local people. And we quickly see that with Odessa also taking only a bit of territory, the rest will go over to one nation, and we quickly see that Crimea will take it over. And with all of that being done, we quickly see that holy hell, I still have time to do a lot, and I have been like speedrunning all of this. Holy hell. Well, I be damned. Seems like we're gonna have one last big thing that's gonna happen, and that is the reunification of Izmir, where Northern Izmir and Central Izmir. As we quickly see that these two nations will join under one banner, as finally these two sons have decided that they will become one, seeking to reinstate this nation as a whole. And they have also filed a puppet government under Anatolia. And Anatolia has finally kind of gained a lot of territory down this way. But surprisingly, the first Anatolian conquest doesn't come with, conquest eastward doesn't come with roads or any other nations towards this area. It comes with the fall of another Izmirian nation. With this Izmirian nation not doing much of anything and kind of on the bad economy list, they start to see themselves falling slowly apart as finally liberation forces of Izmir have started to move in. And with the first move over here done, we quickly see that the reunification of Izmir is in full swing. But sadly, before Izmir can fully unite its all towns, we quickly see that once it takes over these territories and takes it all over, it is forced into this nation. And Anatolia, yes, takes over Izmir, but Izmir finally falls and they do not manage to get back up from it. With that being said, we finally see that Rhodes manages to cough up enough money to buy back most of Rhodes, although not all of it. They do manage to buy back a large chunk of it. We do see that the last area that they cannot buy back is this area, because that has a valuable port that keeps this area kind of in line. And with that being done, we kind of see that Rhodes actually starts to become more relevant as they start to use their large navy against other people. And we quickly see that Carthagia, one of our worst people ever seeing, as they have never been in a great position. Well, they have, but they have just given it up. Finally change themselves into a better nation, as we can see. Many of these areas will quickly take their gander with the Carthaginians, as we finally see that not only will Carthagia take down its 149 list, it will actually build enough ships and be able to still support many more. As we see that they not only they lose their 149, but they actually build not only the ones that they took from their reserve that they can make, but they built around 50 more, and that gave them like 117 craft. And for the first time in history, our nation can support more ships than it actually can make. Also up here we do see that not only does Galicia's navy actually escape being absorbed, they quickly absorb themselves in another nation. Also, I haven't gone over here, which will be something that will happen. But going over here, we see that Ethiopia, seeing its neighbors having so much over here and being able to do so much in their own right and more might, we quickly see that not only will they be able to do something about it, we quickly see that once these two kind of start a naval race, Ethiopia will start to use the local things to build up their navy, and we quickly see that with the added supply lines over here, they will begin to buy boats. The first time that boats are being bought by another nation and turned into warships. With this being an actual possibility, we quickly see many of these areas quickly around Ethiopia's capital becoming very wealthy. And with that being said, we quickly see that not only will they build more than 40, but they will build around 50 ships, and they can still, and they have more in the reserve, finally making it possible for them to make around 100 ships if they so pleased. With that being said, we quickly see that both these guys don't want to mess with Ethiopia again, and with also that being said, we will see that not only will these areas be assimilated into this guy, we quickly see that 25, 30, around 41 more ships go under the West IM's lands. We quickly see with another increase by annexing that one nation, they quickly take over more territory. Well, not territory, but they quickly take over more of these areas, seeking to, well, basically expand the navy. With that being said, I think we're out of time. No, we're not. We have like 40 minutes that I usually do, so let's do more than just 40 minutes. I'll also tell you guys what has happened to these nations over here. 16, what's that? That makes 71. Which means that this nation has finally gone over the 70 mark. They have just 71 ships that are now at their full disposal. With that being said, we do see that this nation over here, it has only like 21 ships. And well, if you guys know, then you guys know, but our good old friend over here, they have not only been doing much better these days, they have been doing wonderfully. And with that being said, we also see that, well, they will build around 122 ships, and they can still support around 198 more. Although it is not 198, they still have like there's like a very large gap between how much they can actually make and how much they could make. But I'm going to say that they have around 23 in reserve currently. So they have, this is the total number that they can make, and this is how much they can pull into the army. So yeah, we finally have kind of this done. Also, Uji is, this nation will never leave. I'm not joking, it will never leave. This nation will stay here forever. I like the borders, I like how they look. Top 10 borders, by the way. Top 10 borders, they are very pleasing to the eye. Like, They're noticeable, they're large, and they're freaking good, my god. But going to the Hun, over here to the Huns, we quickly see not only will they be able to do much more, they will also build their own ships, their own navy, with 25 ships and a further 55 that they can make. With these 55 extra that they can make, it will be easier to take over these areas. In addition, another nation, Kyushu, will take over the responsibility of making more ships, and the ally will make 2 ships to guard its areas over here. Although we quickly see that not only will it make 2, it will have 3, as one other has been given over by someone over here. And we quickly see, with that being the case, Kyushu will also make 1 last ship before gaining very much head start. But as we can see, 2 nations over here have conflicting interests in how much ships they actually have. And with all of this being said, we quickly will see that not only will both Northern Taiwan and Southern Taiwan have these areas. The first time we see any naval warfare go down in this history will start. This part of the world will start, as we see the emperor of these lands will quickly declare war on these areas, trying to gain control of these lands and trying to take them over in full. All they do manage to do so. The selling of these territories does not please the emperor, who is forced to see that the southern Vietnamese nation, well, the Vietnamese nation as a whole, quickly takes over a lot of these territories and starts to even bulge out a bit over here, seeing as it's able to do so in very much tandem. And we quickly see, after the Vietnamese nation takes over these regions, it starts a full-on expansion towards these areas. Although it does do a lot, this nation quickly, this dynasty we see kind of starts to see itself taking over other new nations, and eventually this nation also is forced to join them, even though it's not even a part of them. It's forced to join because it finally falls apart, and we quickly see that not only will this war go down in history, it will go down in naval history as well. Its navy is basically non-existent, but yeah. With that being said, a large naval battle will form when these guys finally scrounge up enough military ships and enough money to buy some ships from these nations over here in the north, quickly making themselves quite the navy. With that being said, they make around 21 ships against these 71, and they will fight in a battle over here, where we see that not only will the navy from these guys' navy start a full-on frontal attack in this battle. We quickly see that both of these navies will face off when a battle erupts for this village's naval areas. And we quickly see that not only will the vastly superior forces of these guys overwhelm this nation over here, it will overwhelm this nation's entire navy, destroying them outright and giving them the control of the sea. As we can quickly see, the sea is this, guys, and we quickly see when these forces eventually land on this nation's soils, it is already over basically. No one manages to stop this army as it's marching down the coasts over here. They start to take over town by town, village by village actually, but we quickly see that the last village will hold out as long as possible, and once the last of its forces are hauled out, this nation quickly evacuates all of its people from where it is, and when refugees start to flow in, it's eventually cut off from any other refugees, and eventually it falls. With these people finally going elsewhere, they will see themselves go anywhere possible, and turns out they do go somewhere that they never thought they would go. their ships get stranded while going over to Taiwan, and they actually manage to land on the Philippines, where we see that the Philippines will quickly become a great place for these people to inhabit. And we quickly see that not only will the entire Philippines be discovered, they will discover some islands over here, and once these are discovered, they decide that they will have no contact with the outside world, cutting off any and all contact with anyone over here. Although they do keep somewhat of a link over to Taiwan, telling them to not ever give their secrets away of these islands existing. With that being the case, we quickly see that the Filipino people quickly are promised to stay irrelevant and unseen, although not so much will be said towards these guys who have started to even go further into these territories, as we see the first explorations of Sumatra start to quickly be followed up by larger and more sturdier explorations. Basically, many people explore, and eventually they discover all of Sumatra. That's the main gist of all of this. But with all of that having been done, and eventually the Philippines making themselves, quite a home over here, we quickly see that this video will come to an end. And if you like the video, please hit that subscribe button. It will help out the algorithm a lot. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.